What is going on, IF Warriors? So today we're going to talk about why exactly you just can't seem to lose weight. What is it that is keeping you from getting to that point where you reach your final goal? And why does it seem like you can lose a pound or 2 or 3, but then you revert back 3 or 4 pounds from where you were before, and you just kind of cycle between 3 to 4 pounds? Let's talk about all of that in this video. The first thing you need to understand when it comes to weight loss is that perception becomes reality, especially to the human brain, when you are focusing on something. Many people do what is called a comparison evaluation to what it took for them to gain weight versus what it takes for them to lose weight. Many people actually feel that it was easier to gain weight than it was to lose weight. And in many cases and in many instances, that is true because you are not paying attention. And of course, you are feeding parts of your brain that's craving for high palatable foods, or your hunger hormones like ghrelin that's craving just food in general, right? So there's a lot of things that you're doing that you don't have to pay attention to because your brain is almost on autopilot, getting a benefit or a dopamine hit from a lot of these things. But when you actually pay attention to the timing and how long it takes for you to gain weight and how long it takes for you to lose weight, they're very, very, very similar. It's just one of those you're constantly paying attention to with a microscope, which is the weight loss, and the other one you're just not even paying attention to it at all. And sometimes you try to psych yourself out by not even measuring or weighing or looking or doing anything, buying new clothes just to fit into it and just not really focusing on the weight gain itself. And before you know it, 3 months has creeped in, 4 months have creeped in, and you've gained a substantial amount of weight. But if you were doing weight loss where you're every day paying attention to what you're doing and you're focusing on it for 3 months, 4 months, you would have substantial weight loss. But because one requires a tedious understanding of patience and measurements and all of this, which is the weight loss, it tends to feel like it's more work, feel like it takes longer, but in reality, it could be more work because it takes more self-control, but it definitely doesn't necessarily take longer. All right, so that's one thing that I want to address, because many people think that they can gain weight easily, but they can't lose weight easily. But really, most of the times, it's very similar. It's just one is easier because it's not hard work. You're not focusing on it. The other one, you are. So let's take that one out of the equation. Now we have to look at the perception of what goes on when you look at the scale. This is one of the reasons why I'm not a fan of daily scale checks. A lot of fitness gurus out there are fans of that stuff. Check yourself every day so you keep yourself accountable. But you're keeping yourself accountable to numbers that don't necessarily represent what's going on with your body fat specifically, right? Or your lean mass. There's a lot of fluctuation that happens in your body regarding glycogen buildup, which is carbs, sugar buildup, glucose buildup in your body that gets stored in between the muscle tissues, that gets stored in your body and cause weight because it also retains water inside of it. There's also water weight and water fluctuation. There's also the foods that you're eating. All of these things cause weight shifts in the scale. So for example, if you've depleted your water and then you weigh yourself on day 1, you'll weigh a certain amount. If you retain water the next day and you weigh yourself, you'll weigh a higher amount than the day before. Now, does that mean that you've gained body fat? No. But to someone looking at it and not understanding the fluctuation of the weight in your body based on so many different factors, you're going to look at that and be disheartened. You're going to think that maybe you need to cut back more, or maybe you need to give up altogether because it's impossible for you to lose weight. Because when you try, things like this happen, that's why I'm not a fan of checking your weight every day. Bare minimum, check your weight every week. because it's like a line chart. Your weight is going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to go up, it's going to go down, but it's going to trend down if you're doing the correct things. If you're making sure that you're eating below your maintenance level when it comes to calorie intake. So that's a thing that you have to also understand. Also, there's a lot of psychological tricks that we play on ourselves. If we don't stick to a weight loss regimen if we stick to it for 3 days, but then we blast against it for 2 days, and we see that the scale is substantially higher, we feel like the numbers don't. I was doing 3 days of this correct regimen, and then just because of 2 days, now I'm all the way back here. That means I just can't lose weight, and that is not the truth. It's all calorie, based, right? So if you're eating way more for 2 days than you were not eating for those 3 days, you're still going to have that weight gain happen, right? You're still going to be above your caloric limit at the end of 5 days, because yes, you were below your caloric limit by a few hundred calories for day 1, 2, and 3, but then you were way above your maintenance level for day 4 and 5, because you went out and ate with friends, you had dessert, you did all these different things. So you have to take things into context. Don't compartmentalize every day and make it seem like, well, I was doing the correct things for 3 days, so therefore these 2 days should not overcome the work of those 3 days. It will, because it's not a daily thing. It's a caloric thing, right? You eat every day for the nutritional value that you get from it, but on a weekly, monthly, and yearly basis, all that matters is, were you in a caloric deficit or were you in a caloric surplus? If after the end of the year you were at a slight caloric surplus, whatever you weighed in January 1st, you will weigh slightly more in January 1st of the next year. All right, so that's basically how that works. So I say all these things because I want you guys to understand the notion of the psychological system that we put ourselves through, a psychological base where we feel that we can't lose weight, but in reality we can. We almost trick ourselves to believe that we cannot. So that's why I talked about all those things. Now, all you have to do, believe it or not, is manage your expectations. Understand that you're not going to be losing weight on a linear level, that there's going to be weight fluctuations, that doesn't necessarily represent body fat. It could represent other things like water weight and glycogen, and stick to the regimen, whatever it is, even if it's not intermittent fasting. It doesn't have to be intermittent fasting, but stick to something that keeps you honest and you can continue to see results down the line. Measure your weight and all of that stuff once a week, bare minimum. Once every 2 weeks you could do it, but once a week, just to make sure that you're at least on a downward trend, and go from there so that you don't feel like you get derailed by looking at your weight and measuring yourself on a daily basis. That's going to help you immensely. And then you'll start to see that, yes, you can lose weight. And once you see a good amount of weight come off, the habit forms very naturally, and you can get to your goal as long as you power through that first period of uncertainty. All right, hopefully this video has helped you guys. And of course, as always, this is Edward from Fledge Fitness, and I wish you guys a good day. Peace out.